Welcome to the Vibrant You Health Show. This is your host, Blake Bars. At Nature's Pantry, our mission is to lead you to vibrant health through the best nutrition, supplementation, and expertise. In the Vibrant You Health Show, we aren't interested in fads or quick fixes, but rather we want to get into the holistic fundamentals to health. We want to answer the questions like, what are the underlying causes of health issues? What are the keys to optimal health? The information provided in this show is intended for your general knowledge only and is not intended to be, nor is it, medical advice or a substitute for medical advice. If you have or suspect you have a specific medical condition or disease, please consult your healthcare provider. If your provider has a strong understanding of nutrition and holistic health, even better. The opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and their guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Nature's Pantry. All right, welcome everybody to episode 27 of the Vibrant You Health Show. And I am humbled and honored to have my special guest today, Mr. Max Willis, with Better Bean Company, formerly known as Nutraceutical and Solaray brand. We'll get into some more of that. But thank you so much, Max, for being here today.
My pleasure, Blake. Thank you for having me.
Now, Max, a little, for those of you that don't know about Max, Max has worked in the nutritional supplement industry for 20 years. And for 15 years, he oversaw the brand Solaray, and one of America's largest dietary supplement brands, and one that we really love here at Nature's Pantry. And I take several of your Solaray products. The company's based out of Ogden, Utah, or the manufacturing's there, the headquarters in Salt Lake. So it's a local, locally produced and run company. They have over 300 supplements in the whole company, herbs, vitamins, minerals, probiotics. Now, Max, you were just telling me a little bit. Could you share with my audience kind of, you grew up in Italy, in Rome, and your family, you were born into kind of a family of doctors, and then your path kind of took we're headed on the same course, and then you changed a little bit. Could you tell my audience about that, please?
Absolutely. And just to clarify, we have about 20 brands today and over 3,000 products. So we kind of cover the whole gamut of vitamin, minerals, herbs, specialty ingredients. And, you know, as a child, I grew up in a house of doctors, pharmacists, psychologists, and I always kind of gravitated towards healing and understanding, you know, what to do to stay healthy, first of all, which a lot of doctors don't practice or learn in medical school. They just know how to identify disease and try to ward it off. That's their main job. But when it comes to prevention, that's a different world. And that's the world that really fascinated me. You know, how do you keep people from going to the doctor? Or if you do get sick, which happens to all of us, even when we make the best efforts to stay healthy, we do get sick. What natural remedies are there? You know, and my dad always taught me that drugs came from the ground. They came from herbs. We look at aspirin, and, you know, it came from white willow. Blood thinners come from yellow sweet clover. You find warfarin in herbs. You find these natural ingredients. So then why manipulate them? And of course, it makes sense, you know, in the medical establishment, in order to make money, you have to have patents, and you have to manipulate it to get those patents. But I've always been a fan of going back to nature for healing. So that's important.
And now today you are the Chief Innovation and Science Officer at Better Bean Company. And so tell me kind of how you got into that position. It's been quite a career so far.
Yeah, I joined and moved to Utah just before the 2002 Olympics. We're here in Park City, and a lot of attention came to Salt Lake City. Not a lot of people knew what Salt Lake City was about, but Utah's known as a place of supplements where they're made. It's a dry, cool climate. It's a wonderful place to live, to raise a family. Lots of recreation out here. And so just, you kind of feel more of a connection with nature in Utah, especially in Park City, where we were headquartered for over 20 years. And I worked and lived there, and could look out my window and see people skiing in the winter and hiking in the summer. And I love going on herb walks and the trails of all around the state. And it's just really embedded in my soul, nature and natural healing.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's cool. So I just wanted to touch on a little more about briefly before we get into kind of the topic, which is the new liposomal technology and liposomal line that you guys have come out with. But I'm just going to share my screen here, and I wanted to show a couple slides as we talk. And this is some slides that Max provided me, and it's really hits on some important things. But one of the reasons we really love Solaray, and I love this acronym here, again, they have great selection in major categories. Its ownership is made and tested in the USA, here locally, not that far from where we're at here in La Grande. They go to the lab verified piece. You guys go to tremendous links to verify and to test products. Is that right, Max?
Yeah. Every time you buy a raw material, you receive a piece of paper called a certificate of analysis that kind of guarantees the authenticity and what you're buying. Well, we take that piece of paper and we file it, and we want to actually test that white powder or the green powder that we received to make sure that somebody didn't pick the wrong barrel, right? These barrels are sealed and they don't always look inside of them. And so we want to test every batch every time. So it's just important to know exactly what you're putting in your pill. And since we do that, Blake, we've had maybe one product recall in the 21 years I've been in this company. Wow. And that's pretty phenomenal when you consider we make over 1,000 products just in this brand.
Yeah, that's super cool. And, one thing I really like to know that one of the reasons we carry your brand, Solaray and other brands, is because of this, that you guys go to links to verify and to test. And there isn't always, not every company has the ethics and standards that you guys have. I did hear recently of a company who got found to be marketing a vitamin C, vitamin D, elderberry capsule, but the capsules were white. So that made somebody wonder, well, is there really elderberry in this? Because it's white. And they had it tested, and turns out it was actually oat flour in the capsules. And so, you just want to be careful that you're getting a product from a reputable source.
Absolutely. We spend millions of dollars in equipment, and we have over 30 PhDs and scientists in our laboratory that do this testing. And people ask me, well, it's not right that you're doing the testing. Shouldn't you use third-party testing? Well, we do both. But not sometimes the testing methodology isn't right that we've seen out of house. And so we go through great lengths to assure we have the highest quality. And that's defined as identity, purity, and potency. Mm-hmm. So is it authentic? Is it pure? Is it free of bacteria and heavy metals? And is it potent? Is it going to deliver a benefit to the consumer?
Right. That's really, really important. And you're an award winner, Best of Supplement, Natural Choice, and Vitae Awards. Again, we talked about being reputable, trusted for 50 years as a pioneer and innovator, always loyal and focused on HFS channel, which is the health food store channel. Is that correct?
That's so important for us because it's people like you and the people that work at stores like yours that are educated, that can really help the consumer understand the value of what they're buying. We did a large poll, Blake, where we actually asked a large segment of our consumers, what do you look for? What's the most important thing in a supplement that you look for? And they say efficacy, right? Well, if you go into the food, drug, and mass channel, there's a chance the people that work in those stores don't even know what echinacea or elderberry is, right? Let alone, you walk in with gout or a specific condition or question, you get those answers in the health food channel. So that's where we sell Solaray, because we value that education piece.
Right, absolutely. And that's something that's really valuable to us too, is because that's what we've built our whole business model and our lives on, is to serve people's health needs. And the education is such an important piece of that. And so to have brands that support us and don't just sell out to the highest bidder and go mass market and cut corners, is important to us, and I think it really helps us keep to our core values, and it's really nice. We like doing business with people who value being great as much or more than they value being big.
That's super important. Yeah. I mean, and you said the right word, cutting corners. Once you sell out to the mass channel, they expect companies to spend millions of dollars in advertising. So where are they going to get that money from? You're either going to cut it out of your testing or quality, or you're going to water down your formulas, or you're going to use more synthetic sources of vitamins and minerals that are cheaper. And so we do not do that. We would rather offer that efficacy, which is what the customer wants ultimately.
Right. And which is really accomplishing your mission, which is help people with their health. Right.
Yeah.
And I like this, your planet and people. And I love that you guys use recycled plastic bottles. I love that you're planting trees. That's just great. It's just a proactive thing we can do. Just that's great for our planet. And I love this Vitamin Angels. I was gonna actually try to play this video in the background if I could while we chat about this. I just love this video about Vitamin Angels, and they were so maybe you could just tell me a little bit. I just love this concept because you're getting important nutritional supplements to people in need.
Yeah, there are major macro and micro nutritional deficiencies throughout the world, especially when you look at developing countries like India. And so we buy a lot of our raw materials from India. So we're supporting farms and farmers there. But there are so many women, especially pregnant women, that aren't getting enough iron or folic acid, and they're not delivering healthy babies, and they're not staying healthy. So Vitamin Angels really started with that mission of bringing supplements to places where they normally wouldn't get access to these things. And that goes to the premise that, food is just not enough. Eating a healthy diet is foundational. Don't get me wrong. I don't want anyone calling saying, oh, Max Willis, your host, said that food isn't enough. No, it is fundamental. We make healthy food choices, but even then, there are tremendous nutritional deficiencies, even in America, with vitamin D, with magnesium, with iron. There's so many women that are borderline anemic. And so imagine in developing countries where they don't get the level of food or nutrition or supplements that we do. So we invest in these causes. Right.
Yeah, I really like that. And Vitamin Angel is just a wonderful organization, and I'm so happy that you guys are supporting them. And there was times during the pandemic when I'm like, man, I really wish we, and we tried to on a small scale here at Nature's Pantry, but like get some of these nutrients that are so important for our health and the building blocks for our immune system into people's hands. And I was hoping that could be more part of the narrative in our pandemic response and how we approach it and how we prepared people for that. So that's certainly something we're happy to be able to support you guys in, and also look to how we can work on those efforts locally here in La Grande in our region.
That's great. That's very noble. And, unfortunately, we don't always tout what we do. We don't say that we use plastic, recycled bottles, that we are planting 1 million trees. You would have to dig deep into our website to find that out. But we just believe that if you do the right thing, the right things will happen to you as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, absolutely. My Dennis Clayville, the founder and one of the owners of Nature's Pantry, has always told me that business is more spiritual than physical. And when we give, that's when we are blessed, is when we give. And I believe God's economy works the best is when we give of ourselves instead of trying to get ourselves. That's when he takes care of us as well. And so I want to get into the main topic at hand here is the liposomal technology that you guys have come out with, and the new liposomal supplement line from Solaray. So I want to jump here to slide number 6 And I just wanted to talk to you about like, what is, first of all, for my audience, what is a liposome?
Liposome comes from the Greek word lipos, which is fat, and zomal, which means body. So it's a body of fat. And it's much more than that, because we've been selling fat-soluble vitamins for many years. In fact, we've been converting water-soluble vitamins like vitamin C into a fatty form, like ascorbyl palmitate, for as long as I can remember. When Dr. Perricone wrote his book, The Wrinkle Cure, how do we get this wonderful antioxidant into the fatty tissues so it can provide an important benefit for anti-aging, skin health, etc. But in the 60s, drug companies developed a liposome to target delivery drugs in the body. And they do that because a lot of drugs are not made to be in the stomach or in the stomach acid. They either get vaporized or they give us an upset stomach. So when you put things in liposomes, you're putting them in a vehicle like a space shuttle that gets them past a certain part of the digestive rigors into the place of the body where the drugs, or in our case, nutrients, can be absorbed. And so the liposome is a phospholipid bilayer. It looks just like a micelle here, and it's got a water core, this aqueous core where you can load water-soluble vitamins and herbs and minerals. And then in the tails that connect on the outside, that's where the fat-soluble vitamins get stored. And so you have this two-part vehicle where, normally in a vitamin, you just kind of blend it all together. Well, maybe some things aren't meant to be together. Like in an aquarium, you don't want beta fish with angelfish. They're going to attack each other and kill each other. Well, we've learned that some vitamins do better if you kind of keep them separated. And the liposome affords that. So it's this beautiful vehicle to deliver nutrients that we've now developed and we're using in a multivitamin.
That's great. And so the phospholipid is another piece of that. And in this slide, phospholipids 101, you kind of touch on what that is. And could you briefly just talk about that for my audience?
Absolutely. Yeah, our human cells are made of phospholipids. When you look at the image of the human cell there, it's the same lipid bilayer membrane that protects the inside of the human cell from the external environment. And that's a protective barrier so our cells stay healthy. We have a barrier, our skin is a natural barrier to infection. Then we have an epithelial lining. We have our gut lining that's a barrier. And when these things become, when they're infiltrated or penetrated by invading microorganisms, that's when we get sick. And so the phospholipids are fats that they usually come from soy or sunflower lecithins, but there's two specific ones that are defined. There's phosphatidylcholine, which is the most abundant phospholipid in our cell membranes. That's what our cells are made of, is phosphatidylcholine. And then there's phosphatidylserine, which is the most abundant phospholipid in the human brain. And so we've been taking phosphatidylserine as a supplement to help enhance focus and memory and executive function.
Right.
But so there's benefits to the phospholipids themselves, not just that they're a vehicle for these nutrients to get to where they need to go to be absorbed. Our phospholipids come from non-GMO sunflowers that are raised all over the world. So.
Wow, that's cool. And so with your liposomal vitamin technology, you're not only getting a better delivery of the vitamin or the supplement, but you're also getting the benefits of the phospholipid that it's packaged with.
Absolutely. And that's what when the phospholipid breaks apart and delivers that vitamin payload to the cell, that what used to be the liposome now are free phospholipids that the gut lining can use to repair itself, that cells can use to repair themselves, that our brain cells can use. So they're very, very value added.
Oh, that's cool. That's really neat. So now liposomal, like you mentioned earlier, the liposomal technology was really invented by pharmaceutical companies to deliver drugs in a more effective way. And that was something the supplement industry learned from. and is now embracing that. Like liposomal vitamin C has been around a while, and we've been using that here and talking about that, as it can be very effective and close to the effectiveness of intravenous vitamin C. It's definitely more absorbable than your standard ascorbic acid that isn't delivered with liposomal technology, or with phospholipids. Now we know that liposomes help our body absorb things that are packaged with it. But why do you think that is, or why does our body like this fat so much or take it in so readily?
Yeah. So let's go back to how we normally get our vitamins and minerals, right? We get it through our food. Mm-hmm. We eat food, but a lot of food that we ingest, let's think of iron bound to spinach. Okay. There's something called anti-nutrients in foods that, unless if we have the right digestive enzymes, or depending on how we prepared the food, right? Some foods you want to eat them in their raw state, like an orange. You don't want to heat that vitamin C or it's going to die off.
Yeah.
Other foods like kale, you want to cook them down to break apart these anti-nutrients. Fermentation is a really big trend in our industry because it's a way for bacteria or fungi to pre-digest these foods so they're more easily bioavailable to us. So foods are the original source of nutrition, and they still are today. But a lot of times people eat things and maybe they feel bloated, or they're not absorbing their vitamins, or you take a regular vitamin, which is what I'm in the business of for 21 years, a regular vitamin that's not in a liposome, and it provides some benefit. But a lot of those vitamins may be vaporized in the stomach acid. We've observed that with B vitamins and vitamin C. And so we want to kind of create a protective vehicle so those vitamins not only get to where they need to go, they get there safely, and then the body doesn't have to chelate or claw something to it. We know that we absorb things better when our body breaks them down and then attaches an organic acid to it, a coenzyme, and then you can absorb it easily. Well, that liposome is already packaged in a way that it just gets absorbed right through the lumen of the small intestine. It gets into the blood, then it travels throughout the body, and it connects with cell membranes to deliver those payloads of nutrients. And again, if you look at this diagram, the top image with the solid blue core is a liposome full of those active ingredients. Mm-hmm. It connects with the cell, and those phospholipid bilayer membranes open up and they connect, almost like like when you use fatty dish soap in a dirty pan, it's going to solubilize it and open it up. And so we're then delivering that active payload inside of the cell, and then that liposome gets also reabsorbed by the body for reasons we explained.
That's cool. That's neat to see how that actually works. Because in general, to me, it made sense that our body would like fat and want to absorb it, but to see this picture is really enlightening. And
some people ask me, Blake, well, what about if I have my gallbladder removed and I don't absorb fat easily? Well, that's not the case with liposomes, because you don't need digestive enzymes to break liposomes down. They're very, very small. They go right into the intestine and get absorbed through the intestinal wall. It's not like you're eating a fatty, avocado or some meat that you have to really digest with lipase or fat digesting enzymes.
Right. Oh, wow. That's good to know. So if people ask about that. So now, what is it? You talked about this a little bit. What is the number one thing that people are looking for in a multi, and why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think back to my earlier statement about why people take supplements, they want efficacy. With a multivitamin, I think most Americans realize that the standard American diet is lacking in nutrition. Now, people that shop in Nature's Pantry probably eat a healthy diet already. But even then, even if it's grown in the wonderful fertile soil of Idaho or Oregon or wherever, there's still soil degradation now in this country. And we're not getting the same level of nutrients and trace minerals in our soil. And therefore, they're not translating into our vegetables the way our grandparents ate them. And so a multivitamin really covers your bases.
Yeah, and I think if I may just add, I think the soil is definitely a big factor, and that whether the food is being mass produced on a big scale in soil that's being continually, and maybe not done in a biodynamic way or regenerative way. And then also one thing that was brought to my attention recently is how important chewing our food is. Because when we chew our food well, there's enzymes that get released in the cheek that start the digestive process. And oftentimes we're in our busy lifestyles, we are like inhaling food and not really chewing it well enough. And then another factor too is that organic foods are much more rich in nutrients and vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals than ones that are sprayed. So
100%.
Anyway, I just wanted to add that, but please continue.
No, I love it. When we buy mass-produced food, it's full of glyphosates and things that are rough on our digestive tract and cause leaky gut, and let alone processed foods. We always say don't shop the core of the store, go on the aisle. The best place to shop is in your own garden, right? Grow your food, but that's just not practical for a lot of Americans. So we go back to the need of a multivitamin. And even though we're not suffering from scurvy, we don't look like Bootstrap Bill on Pirates of the Caribbean with scurvy and rickets. We're suffering with other deficiencies such as vitamin D and others that a multivitamin really helps round out your nutritional needs.
Right. And can you speak a little bit to the efficacy of Solaray's liposomal multis line? And we're going to talk a little more about that.
Yeah, like you said earlier, Blake, people have heard of this term liposomal because of vitamin C has been around for a while. There's also a lot of liquid liposomes that I've seen in the market, but we've done some studies that have shown how dried liposomes are actually even more effective than the liquid liposomes because it's almost like, think of a grape. That would be a full liposome with all of its water content. Well, through a process of exosmosis, you can dehydrate it, get the water out, and you have a collapsed liposome that's binding those nutrients. And then when you put it in a capsule and ingest it, it reconstitutes as that capsule opens up. Those liposomes become plump again. They bring in water through a process called endosmosis. And from grapes to raisins, back to grapes. And that's what Solaray's technology is here. We put it in a dry powder. We collapse the liposome to get it past the stomach. And so then when it reconstitutes through the duodenum and into the intestinal tract, that's where those liposomes get absorbed, where a lot of liposomes that are not dried will get broken apart quickly in the stomach acid.
Right. Why is it that some multivitamin supplements make our stomach hurt or make us feel nauseous?
Yeah, sometimes it's like drinking from a fire hydrant. If we take a straight iron or magnesium at high potencies or vitamin C, it can cause some gastrointestinal distress because we're getting too much too fast. Again, we go back to nature. Our food is a delayed release vehicle for vitamins, and we need to break it down, like you said, chewing and the enzymes. But if we take it straight, that's almost like drinking high fructose corn syrup. I mean, and I don't want to parallel the two because I shouldn't. Yeah. But like, we need sugar, but we don't want high fructose corn syrup. It spikes our insulin way too fast. And then we get the crash and it causes weight gain and all this insulin resistance. Well, vitamins are important, but if you get too much too fast, it can cause some distress in people. And so even though we're supposed to get 420 milligrams of magnesium every day, for example, the National Institute of Health has said don't go over 350 in one dose because you could get loose stools. You might have diarrhea because you're getting too much at once. You're not getting it in your almonds and cashews and leafy greens like you naturally would.
Right. How does the how does the liposomal vitamins kind of help reduce some of that potential stomach upset?
Exactly. So the liposome then kind of protects and masks those vitamins so they don't get taken in so fast, if that makes sense, or right through the digestive process, they get absorbed. A lot of people take a multivitamin and then they go to the bathroom and they pee bright yellow and they're like, whoa, did I just pee out all my vitamins? What's going on here? And they may not be absorbing as much as they think. And so the liposome prevents that from happening. It gets absorbed through the intestinal wall, where the endothelial lining is made of the same phospholipid bilayers, so it gets right through, and that's the beauty of it.
Oh, that's cool. So I wanted to show, I'm just going to show a little slide. I wanted to talk just a little bit about the new multi-line, and I was just going to show this neat slide that kind of shows the line. So this is the new liposomal multi-line from Solaray. There are 4 options, one for women, one for men. There's a universal and a women over 50. And I was going to ask you, Max, if maybe we could do just a little deep dive into like the women's and the women's 50 plus, just to kind of get an idea of how these unique formulas are geared towards specific folks.
Absolutely. Do you want to go to the women's slide, or do you want to just talk off of this?
Let's go to that one. I think that's right here.
Perfect. Excellent, Blake. So what we've done here is there's 37 different vitamins and minerals and nutrients for whole body wellness. 19 of the vitamins and minerals are at 100% daily value or more. So we call it high potency at the top because we're at 100% daily value or more per serving, right. And that's in 2 veg caps. And then what we've looked at for women is, well, what are the women's specific needs, that it may be different from men. And so we looked at today, brain health and mood is definitely a concern, especially post-COVID. So we really tried to modernize the need, and we put GABA in, which is a fundamental neurotransmitter for mood support. We added one of my favorite herbs from India, ashwagandha. That's one of the fastest growing botanicals. It's a wonderful adaptogen. It's been studied for rest and relaxation and vitality, and it helps you adapt to your environment. It helps with adrenal support. I think women do so much today, Blake. They're trying to raise kids and work and manage households, and they're stressed. They're stressed, and they need that extra support. So we have liposomal ashwagandha. And then I did a hair, skin, and nail blend with biotin, silica. Hyaluronic acid is great for the skin. And there's probably not enough of hyaluronic acid and some of the things, enough biotin here. But sometimes women might, if they really feel their nails getting brittle or their hair, we believe that in this liposomal form, you're going to absorb more than you normally would. So this is really a good way to get that support. And then, of course, iron.
Yeah, I really love that. The ashwagandha and the adaptogen for stress. I've been taking ashwagandha myself, and it is really kind of helped me to, we're not going to be able to avoid stress completely in life, but we can put ourselves in the best position we can to handle it and adapt to it. And then I think that's especially important in the age we're living in, and the GABA for mood support. And then I love that you have the hair, skin, and nails formula here, and the beauty for women. And I've heard a lot of women post-COVID struggling with some of this. So I think it's a really good and timely formula.
Great. Yeah. And then again, this is for women in their reproductive years. So I have a daughter who's 12 that actually takes this multivitamin, as soon as they start their period up until menopause, really. And for women, it could be anywhere from early 40s to late 50s. And so 18 milligrams of liposomal iron is important. And then we have a little bit of a ginger and aloe base there to aid with digestion.
Right. That's great. And And you talked about then once a woman hits a menopause, and then this the formula that would be best at that point?
Correct. So this one, the iron, I didn't take it totally out. I took it down to 4.5 milligrams, which is 25% of the RDA. And the reason why I left a little bit of iron is obviously post-menopause, women are not menstruating. They don't need as much. Hopefully what they need, they're getting from their diet. But a lot of women they get into blood thinners. They're worried about, they tend to get more medications, and these things can leach out their iron.
Mm-hmm.
We lose iron and when we go to the bathroom every day. So I just wanted to make sure that we had enough iron for healthy cell production, for healthy blood formation, etc.
Right.
So and just a little bit, which is unusual. Most women's 50 plus are completely iron free. Mm-hmm. And then the unique thing I added here is vitamin K2, which you know well about, Blake, for transporting that calcium from circulating blood into bone formation.
Right.
And getting it out of the arteries, which is good for heart health and bone health, of course.
Yep.
And then Solaray is known for cranactin. We were the first supplement brand in the 90s to develop cranberry extracts for urinary tract health. We did all that early research. So I have that as a base here because just so many women suffer with some adherence of bacteria in their urinary tract from their kidneys through their urethra. So we wanted to keep that healthy.
Right. That's a big thing that we see quite often, and the need for that. And women have used that with good success.
Yeah. And by the way, Blake, if women are having chronic UTIs, there's not enough in here to address that. I would stack on a D-mannose with cranactin with this and take it every 4 to 6 hours to keep that anti-adherence factor high in their blood.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah. So, yeah, really excited about this one with 33 different ingredients. Again, targeting whole body wellness, bone health, heart health, immune system function. Goes without saying with all of these multivitamins is we have the right levels of zinc and vitamin C to address keeping a healthy immune system operating every day.
Right.
So, and everything here, if you look at the back panel, it's all liposome. Mm-hmm. It's not like we just blended things with liposomal vitamins. Everything is made in a liposome.
Right.
And even
that's incredible.
Even the lutein and the CoQ10 for eye health and heart health, all made into liposomes. So you're going to be absorbing much more than you used to when you take this version.
Right. That's incredible. And I know a lot of people today are looking for something because they see all these things that they're supposed to be taking, and they're looking for something that really is comprehensive. And if you're going to take it, like you said, like we want it to work. We want the efficacy to be there. Like what's the point if it's not going to really be absorbed and used by our body? And so, if you're going to hit all the needs that you need to hit, let's get it into the body where it needs to be. And then you have the universal formula and the men's formula. This is going to be the one I take as soon as I'm out of the current multi I have, because we just got these in the store, this whole line. Like I told you earlier, I had just learned about this, watched a video you had done on the new line, and talked to one of my friends, Dave Whelan, who works for Nutraceutical or Better Bean Company now. And he was like, you need to get Max on your show and then he sent me these videos and I was like, oh, this is awesome. And I just said, Kathy, hey, we need to get this line in the store. And she's like, I already ordered it. So, and it's here on the shelves. It's on sale right now. I love this men's line. Do you want to touch on that at all?
Yeah. Sure, Blake, since this is the product you and I are both going to be taking.
Yeah.
One thing that my dad, being connected to the medical world is a wonderful thing because you see what they do in allopathic medicine. And I asked my father, who's still practicing, and my brother, who's also a doctor, what's something common you're noticing in men today when they come in for their annual physicals? Now not a lot of guys don't get their physicals, and I think they should. You should see where your cholesterol levels are at. You should see where your prostate's at, all these things. And something we've noticed in men is that they have high TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. That means they're low thyroid. Now, when we're low thyroid, we're actually not, our metabolism isn't running the way it should. And then we have low energy, we have unexplained weight gain. And there's multiple reasons for that. Of course, testosterone drives our metabolism a lot, but also we're taking a lot, and your customers probably may not realize this, Blake, because they're eating healthy salts like Himalayan pink salt or sea salt, but they're not getting the iodine in their salt like you would get in Morton's iodized salt, right? Mm-hmm. That's not the best salt for you, but we need the iodine. Mm-hmm. So I put a good amount of iodine in here for thyroid support for the guys. It's more of a problem for men than women. Now, women have thyroid concerns as well, and I put iodine in those formulas too, but I put enough here that the men need. No iron in this, pumpkin seed for some prostate health, and some amino acids for muscle recovery and support. So
yeah, that's great. Very cool. What is the difference with the universal?
The universal can be taken by men or women. Now, this has 9 milligrams of iron, which is 50% of the RDA. Mm-hmm. But there are women who may be competing in athletics who don't have a regular period, so they don't need as much iron. Mm-hmm. Or there's men that may need more iron because they, work out, they sweat a lot. So I wanted a good universal formula. If you think back, Blake, I've been doing multivitamins for 20 years. We used to launch multivitamins that were like spectro and iron free. There wasn't a men's and a women's and a teen and all this and that. Mm-hmm. And so, we're kind of back to let's offer a universal version for, that the family can share based on their need. Right. And so,
right. That's good.
That's what we have here. Yeah.
So what closing thoughts do you have for my audience? Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to share, or any closing encouragements or?
No, I appreciate the time. I know people spend a lot of time listening to your show. They come here for answers. And, I'm in the business of providing natural solutions to real problems. Mm-hmm. And if I can, my dad will tell you, like I said, he's a family practitioner. He's still practicing here in Utah. 9 out of 10 patient visits are unnecessary, is what my dad says. Wow. A lot of times, I tell them to go to the health food store and buy a zinc supplement because they just have a cold, or, sometimes I give them an antibiotic. They may not really need it. So why don't we save time and money and educate ourselves a little bit and go to places like Nature's Pantry and get a good multivitamin like the liposomal multi, maybe look at an omega fatty acid to keep our skin healthy, our brains functioning, our hearts, our inflammation levels low, maybe get on a good digestive enzyme. Do some basics and you'll notice a difference in your energy levels, in your health. You'll save a lot more money in the end and you'll feel better and you'll live better. It's not about longevity anymore. It's about lifegevity. How are we living into our later years? And if we invest properly now, right, we will see the dividends as we age. Mm-hmm. And so that's my message is do the foundational things and cover your bases with the right supplements.
That's right. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, it's so true that small habits really do lead to big change. And that is what we want, right? We don't want to just live a long time. We want to have quality of life, and we want to be there for our loved ones. We want to be able to serve our community, love the people in our lives well. And, we can't do that when we're not feeling well, when our health's not good. And by doing things like Solaray's liposomal multivitamin, we can give ourselves better chances at having, optimal health for life. Thank you again so much, Max. Really appreciate your time. God bless you. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.
God bless you. Thank you, Blake.
Thank you.